Larry Goldberg has become famous yet again. He has led the news. Larry, I know everybody's super interested in everything we're going to talk about today, but at the top of your list was a milestone that didn't have anything to do with it. Well, it has a little bit.
8:30 this morning.
8:30 this morning. Okay.
8:30 this morning. SpaceX landed for the 500th time the Falcon 9 booster. Now think about this just for a minute.
Yeah.
The most important single factor in bringing the cost of launch down, and this is what Elon predicted 10 years ago. 10 years ago, he said the single most important factor in bringing the cost of launch down is to return to its starting point, the Falcon 9 booster.
Right.
Rapid reuse.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. They've done it 500 times. And guess how many times China, Russia, all of Europe combined, and any other country in the world, guess how many times they've done it?
Let me see. Does it begin with a Z?
It begins with a Z. And how many times have any other company done it? I mean, think about, Blue Origin or ULA, which is Lockheed and Boeing,
Yeah.
They've done it how many times?
I think it still starts with a Z.
Still starts with a Z.
Some company I think has shot one up, it wasn't actually orbital, and it's a pretty small, I think it wasn't like a really useful version, but they were able to land it, I think. No?
Nope.
Am I missing on that?
Yeah, it wasn't orbital. It was and it's Blue Origin. They've sent it up to 100 kilometers and brought it back to Earth again.
Yeah.
Well, SpaceX had done that with the little, what did they call that little thing? It was called something like a scarecrow. I can't remember, but they did it themselves. They practiced with it. They figured it out, but no orbital class booster has been landed, and that's the key to spaceflight.
And the thing is, we throw it off like they've done it 500 times, like it's no big deal. It's kind of like
it's a big deal enough to have given SpaceX a monopoly in launch.
Absolutely, and a monopoly in orbital crafts,
and a monopoly in an orbital internet.
Yes.
And, so without that rapid reuse, without that rapid and reliable reuse, they would never have been able to afford to put up 6,500 satellites.
Right.
So, and here's the remarkable thing. Not one single US company not one single US company have yet achieved it.
Yeah.
Blue Origin tried on the first launch. Blue Origin tried on the first launch of their New Glenn. It didn't work. I think they're going to get it right. And to me, the biggest irony of all is that the celebrated CEO of ULA, that's the Boeing Lockheed partnership.
Right.
This great, prophet of space flight. 10 years ago, he wrote, it's not really that profitable. It's not really that you save that much money. You really have to achieve 10 flights before it becomes profitable. I mean, that was his numbers. His numbers were wrong, but nonetheless, he said, instead, we're going to do smart reuse. We're going to return the engines, just the engines, because that's like 80% of the cost of the booster. We're just going to return the engines, and we can do that in 2 years, and we're going to beat the pants off SpaceX. Because after all, SpaceX won't make a profit until they've done at least 10 of these. Well, that was 10 years ago.
No.
He said he was going to do it in 2 years. How many rocket motors do you think he's returned back to Earth?
I'm going to get 100% on this test today, huh, Larry? I got another Z. Yeah.
Man, you're doing well, really well. Yeah. I mean, I could throw a lot more questions at you for which the same answer would apply. You know, how many has China done? How many has Russia done? I mean, you know, it can go on and on. But anyway, the point is, we reached that 500 mark, and we're going much, much deeper because the next step is Starship is going to return both the booster and the ship.
Right.
And the idea is that within a couple of years, they'll be doing this on a routine basis, and they're going to refly those things within a day
or within an
landing.
hour. Or within an hour.
I think that's going to be a little tough because, you know, firstly, the rocket has to cool down. Secondly, they got to pump it full of gas,
right.
Well, full of propellant, and it, you know, it'll probably take closer to 6 hours.
Okay,
but my goodness,
yeah, that would be fast enough.
And also they got to load the payload as well. That's not trivial.
That's true, not trivial. Yeah.
Anyway, enough about that. You know, I mean, SpaceX, I mean, Elon Musk companies do this every day. They achieve another, you know, historic high on something that they were told they were never going to be able to do.
Well, of course, what I think is it's not as fascinating as landing those rockets or the future of landing Starship, but the fact that this is being done as an assembly line product.
Yes.
As opposed to a 1 ounce. They're building I guess their goal is one a week, maybe even more than that at some point.
Are you talking about one a week?
Oh, one a day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one a day. Okay.
No, actually, the goal is 2 a day, but yeah, it's a day. It's going to be a daily rhythm. Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to build a bunch of rocket engines. So 66 or some such number of rocket engines per day. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And this is what Elon was saying, I think, the other day when he said, look, we're in the Master Plan 4. What we're doing is we're taking manufacturing prowess that is unequaled anywhere in the world. And we're combining that with our AI prowess. And the combination is unstoppable.
No question about it. No question about it.
Well,
very exciting.
Speaking of unstoppable, the offer that was made to Elon Musk today had many, I would say, superlatives. We've already been talking superlatives. So there were superlatives like unique. There were superlatives like nobody like him. There were superlatives like $1 trillion.
Many trillions of dollars.
Trillions of dollars for the pay package. So what were some of the top things that you thought as you started to read through the various people reporting, or maybe you read the whole 350? I don't know.
You know, I didn't. I had a very busy day, as you know. We're in the midst of a move, so I'm on duty on a lot of fronts. Look, very seldom has or will a pay package with a T be written. You know, it may happen 20 years in the future, but one of the things that Elon says, you know, he's sometimes late, but he always delivers.
Right.
But the other thing that is true to say about Elon is he's extremely early in pioneering these incredible, you know, changes in how we think about enterprise, how we think about, you know, startups, and how we think about how enterprises evolve and develop. So when Tesla proposed the second pay package, the last pay package, there was enormous hoo-ha because it had a B in front of it.
Right.
Now it's got a T in front of it. It's interesting that people kind of take that as, yeah, that's amazing, but you know, it's Elon, and you know, and I listened to CNBC today, which is a unique moment for me. I mean, they were pretty positive on it. I mean, I would say not pretty positive. They were very positive on it.
Yeah.
You know, and they'd been very mixed about the second pay package.
Right.
And so, look, this is a really good situation because if it passes, and I believe it will,
Yeah, probably.
it'll clean up multiple different things. It'll clean up the previous mess. It'll clean up, you know, Elon's need for control of this company. It'll clean up, you know, the sort of rub that he'll earn all this money and then he'll walk away. And it'll clean up the issue of succession, which is a huge issue in any Elon company, but more so in a public company.
Yeah.
Much more so in a public company. You know, SpaceX, the succession problem there is not Elon, it's 𝐒𝐮. And, you know, 𝐒𝐮 is reaching retirement age. She probably is ready to retire. I mean, I don't know this, but, you know, there's been some noise about that. And she's not easily replaceable.
Right.
But I will, and she's probably lasted longer than any senior executive in any of his companies to date, because she has, you know, a really remarkable facility for managing all these competing pressures.
As well as managing Elon.
Well, I didn't want to say that. Some of us are brave enough to say that. I'm not. I mean, I said competing elements.
So one of the comments that was made in the treatise that they put out today about the pay package, which is something that I've gone back to so many times in my writings about him, as well as my writings in general, is it takes us back to Andrew Carnegie, who was another one of the top industrialists of the last 200 years, or maybe of all time. I would say of all time. And Carnegie said, take away my buildings, take away my factories, take away all of the machinery and equipment, the products, leave me my top people, and I'll just build it again. And the commentary in this pay package proxy talked a lot about the fact that he's a magnet for talented people, that we've known that for years. SpaceX and Tesla fight for the #1 position in the country as to where graduating engineers want to go. And when I say fight, every year one of them is #1, the other one is #2, and then they just reverse it for over a decade. I think it's been that way. And this is the thing that nobody can take away from Elon, is that people want to come and participate in the mission.
Yeah, look, it's not easy to work for Elon Musk. You know, it's a vortex that you can easily be sucked into. You know, he is a very powerful personality. He has a very high level of conviction and a very low tolerance for incapacity to execute. And he's got a temper that tends to be volcanic, is volcanic. So not easy. And you know, he has these black moments as well.
Yeah.
So it can't be easy to work within his ambit. I think to actually work at SpaceX and not work directly for him may be as good as working at SpaceX and working directly for him, or Tesla, or whatever.
Yes.
So you know, I mean, you pays your money and you takes your choices.
Yeah. So going to the specifics a little bit, I'm going to do a show tomorrow with Cern, where I'm sure we'll go really deep into the specifics of the pay package. But Larry, the thing that was what was confusing, and yet in some ways it wasn't. So I'll lay out my first impressions when they said 1 million Optimi and 1 million Robotaxis as the goals. They're two of the targets, two of the goals, and the other ones were, of course, cars and the FSD.
It's a very modest number of cars, by the way, 10 million cars.
Right. In fact, I should have mentioned those as well,
Is
because
it 10 million or 20?
10
Sorry.
million, 20 million,
20 million. Yeah,
We're
yeah,
at
yeah.
8 million now. It's 20 million shipped, delivered, I guess you would call it. So the first thing that came to my mind is the shifting mix going forward, which we've been talking about for 9 months, and very few other people are. And that is, I'm not sure we're going to need to sell more than 3 million cars a year. In fact,
Well, we still get to, I mean,
it still get to
if you
10
start
million.
at 8, we only need 4 years to get there
Right,
at
right.
3 million a year. The question in my mind was, and it's not spelt out to my understanding, so I haven't read the thing, as I've said,
Right.
I need to do that, is whether or not the robotaxis in the fleet constitute a sold vehicle.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So if they do, then that's an easy, that's a gimme.
Right.
If they don't, that's a little bit more
Right.
difficult.
Yeah. So I think we can see sales to individuals or shipments to individuals, probably, in my opinion, only through 2028. I just have a hard time imagining. That doesn't mean no companies will be selling cars to individuals. I'm saying that I have a hard time imagining Tesla selling cars to individuals past 2028, because the demand will be for fleet cars and their own fleet and other people's fleets. So
that's why I think fleet cars need to be in that mix. But I'm not. I have to read the document.
Right. So therefore, that changing mix, might confuse some people out there that go, but he was talking about 20 million cars a year, and now they're only talking about 20 million cars total. And I think that's what's going on, is there's a complete change in the directionality.
Absolutely. Yeah, but we knew that already. We knew that.
You and I did, but maybe everybody else hasn't quite figured.
Well, if you look at the stock price, and we'll talk about that, I guess, I think you see the market beginning to accept that, beginning to understand what the target is. One of the good things about this plan is that spells out the company's strategic goals.
Right.
Elon talks about it at a very high level. He talks about it in his conceptual terms, and people can't connect that to reality. Now they've got dollars, cents, and product. And, Gary Black, of course, would not accept this. Gary Black will say, well, they haven't sold a single Optimus, so I'm going to limit that. And it's not clear there's a market for more than 500,000 robots, he said. So, you get that kind of ludicrous approach. And, but I think we can discount all of that. I think we can say this company has had this incredibly, incredible future target in its previous challenge to its CEO, and they aced it. Now we come with an even greater challenge. There's absolutely no reason to believe that they're not going to ace it.
Right.
He could fail in one or two of these, particular targets. It's possible. But listen, as long as he achieves, a significant majority of them, it's going to be golden, absolutely golden.
So then the other thing that might be confusing to people is that he has talked about hundreds of millions, if not billions, of robotaxis, and yet the goal robotaxis of Optimi, and yet the goal is only 1 million.
1 million's a lot of Optimi, my friend.
I know, but I'm just saying, compared to his previous statements with regard to 10xing every year, with regard to his statements with regard to the TAM being 27 billion Optimi, that 1 million sounds like a proverbial drop in the bucket. My theory, Larry, would be this is just kind of a throwaway. I think it's a throwaway goal. It's a starting point.
Look, 1 million Optimi at an integrated price is going to start in the 100,000 plus range. It's going to go down to the 20,000, And it's going to be driven by huge pricing pressure from China.
Eventually.
No, I think from the outset. I think the pricing pressure is already on. So I think $1 million's pretty good. The question is timing. You know, this plan times it out to 10 years. I think they're going to squash that timing in. That's what they did actually in the last plan.
Right.
That's my expectation anyway.
But they're talking about 1 million total shipments as opposed to 1 million a year.
No, I get that. I get that. I get that. But I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If they'd come out with 5 million, everybody said this is ludicrous, this is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. 1 million, Wall Street says, wow, that's a lot, you know. Fine.
Okay, well, the same thing. Step 2 on that is 1 million robotaxis when we're talking about, you know, 1 million. He wants to build 2 million cybercabs next year.
Do the number. No, he's not going to build 2 million cybercabs next year. Trust me.
Eventually.
Yeah. Look, do the numbers. 1 million Optimi and 1 million robotaxis on the road. It's a boatload. I don't want to use the normal expression here, but it's a boatload of income. As
long as they have continuing income. So if they're in the Tesla fleet and they're being rented or leased,
they said 1 million in the fleet.
Oh, they did on the Optimi or just on the
Robotaxi? No, on the Robotaxi. They said 1 million on the road. Well, that's the fleet. Tesla earn on everyone on the road.
Right.
And the same with Optimi. They're going to lease it. They're not going to sell it. So there you go.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe you're right. Okay, so overall.
But here's the most important point. If you go to 𝐒𝐚𝐽𝐿 and you look at their analysis of the future value of Tesla, you will see that by and large, this plan conforms to kind of the mid-level estimate. You know, 𝐒𝐚𝐽𝐿 does this, what they call Monte Carlo, which is a statistical analysis of the best case, the worst case, and the sort of middling case. And they do this and they come up with a number. These numbers purport quite closely or align quite closely to that middle line in the 𝐒𝐚𝐽𝐿 future analysis.
Okay. All right. Now, my last question on the pay package was there was no mention of megapacks or semi-trucks.
Yeah. I mean, that's the value of this company. Nobody sees just, you know, how much real value there is, you know.
So the board, though, didn't include them. So I thought that was kind of odd. Okay, so you mentioned also that you noticed, and I was paying scant attention to it, but apparently you watched it a little closer than I did, about the downloads of the Robotaxi app.
So they opened the app up to everybody today, first time. And man, the downloads went through the roof, far exceeding the downloads on Uber, far exceeding, I mean, by I think an order of magnitude, the downloads on Waymo. I mean, through the roof.
Yeah.
So if there's any indication of demand out there, that is kind of an indication. It's not an absolute indication, but, you know, time will tell.
Well, you know, several months ago, I want to say 6 months ago, people were wondering, well, gee whiz, how will they get, you know, what's the demand for a Tesla cybercab or a Tesla Robotaxi? And I said, okay, look, we've got Elon with 240 million followers just on X. Then you've got the number of people who already own Teslas. That's 10 million, you know, 8, 9. I guess they just said it was 8 million, the people that own Teslas. Then you've got the people that have Tesla stock that do not own Tesla vehicles, which are actually quite substantial. They're always on X saying, well, I've had the stock for years, but I still don't have my first car. And then you've got the people that are just fans. They're not on X, but they're fans of the company.
That's not the half of it.
But
you're looking in the wrong direction.
I am. Okay. All right.
It's like somebody looking out into this horizon to see, how beautiful the mountains are, and behind them there's a tsunami. Because the demand isn't the Tesla community, the Tesla fans, the Tesla investors. That's not the demand. The demand is every person who needs transport. That's quite a few people. Right now, their only choice in transport is they can own a bicycle, they can own a scooter, they can own a car, they can take a bus, or they can call an Uber.
Or some kind of ride hail. Yeah.
They can call a ride hail. There may be other, wrinkles, but that's kind of the world. That actually is quite a bit larger than the Tesla world you're talking about. In the United States, it's over 350 million people.
Right.
The Tesla community may constitute 10 or 15 million people, but the 350 million people constitute the market now. There are children there and they're older people. So maybe the market's only 250 million. And of that market, maybe only 10% are going to look at ride hail out of the box in the early. That's 25 million people.
Right.
That's got to be more than 2.5 times the size of the Tesla community. And then you add the Tesla community.
Yeah. So we're kind of talking past one another because I may have stated my statement wrong. I was talking about out of the gate as it begins to develop, the available TAM would be awareness. I mean, you got to have awareness, and we have massive awareness because of the things that I listed. And these people who are aware are going to be more likely. They're going to go to the airport. They're going to say, "I'm going to take a Robotaxi. I'm not going to take an Uber to the airport. I know it's cheaper. I know I want to start taking some kind of a cab to work or to school. I'm going to take these because I know they're cheaper." Now, if I don't know they're cheaper, then I don't know they're cheaper. But
I think we'll know that they're cheaper very quickly. I think the word of mouth here is going to be almost instantaneous.
There should be an explosive word of mouth. There should definitely be an explosive word of mouth. All right. So the downloads, however, and as you point out, massively more than any of the other ride hail services here in just one day. So it's been quite phenomenal. All right. So we have also on the list of things happening in that proxy, actually a separate proxy, is asking the folks whether they want Tesla to invest in xAI. And
the board's not taking a position on that.
Yes, I know. That was interesting.
My own proposal was that there's an exchange of stock between xAI and Tesla.
Right.
I don't want Tesla to use its cash. It may suit Elon to move some cash from Tesla into xAI. I think that would be a mistake. I would far prefer to see a stock exchange. But I think it's merited. Yeah. And I think, it could be valuable for both companies.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take a hard right turn here, Larry. You spent a massive amount of time a couple of months ago looking into the health situation in the United States, healthcare, the expenses, the cost. Yesterday, our current head of HHS, Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy Jr., spent the day before Congress, and it was almost as if the Democrats decided to all get together and just gang up on him in any way, shape, or form to try to destroy him in one afternoon. I came out of that, and I didn't watch a lot of it because I'm not hugely interested in the category right now. I'm interested enough to pay attention. And my thought as we came out of that was, Kennedy pointed out when he was running for president, he pointed out as he's become HHS secretary, that we've had a massive increase in the country in autism. There's no getting around that. We know that there's more people being diagnosed as autistic. They've tried to run the numbers to see whether that's some kind of what do you want to call it, a recognition as opposed to an actual increase in people with the symptoms. And they said, no, it's an actual increase in people that have the symptoms. I have two people in my family, my direct family, who are autistic. And
I have to.
Yeah. And then several people that are outside that are close associated. Then number two, we know there's been a dramatic increase in childhood obesity. And we know that is potentially at least one of the causes for a big increase in childhood diabetes. And these are, significantly, a significant problem for the country. Then we've got an increase in chronic illnesses. And then depression, a big increase in depression at all ages. He has brought all of these to our attention. Nobody else was really talking about any of these. They were not on the country's radar. Every one of those is contributing to the cost of our healthcare system going through the roof. It's not just about the pharmaceuticals. It's not just about a messed up healthcare system. It's partially due to the fact that we have all this chronic disease, all this diabetes, all this depression, all this autism, all have to be treated. But
you may also point a finger to the messed up health system
yes, you
in
can.
these conditions.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Because the health system has studiously, and I use that word advisedly, studiously ignored each and every one of these problems and studiously ignored the contributing factors to these problems. Now, I'm the first to say that these contributing factors are very complicated.
Of course.
But that there is a social component to the causes of them, there can be absolutely no doubt. And the CDC and the HHS has studiously ignored those aspects. And I think it's those aspects that exercise the Secretary of Health the most. I mean, I don't really get into the whole politics of it. He can be very abrasive.
Yes.
He can be very dogmatic. But nobody's talking about this.
Yeah.
Everybody's acting as if it's all okay. Don't worry. Don't alarm, the children, everything's great. No, it's not great. I myself flirted with diabetes for a while. I was getting, way overweight and, had to really take myself in the hand. And it's so easy to fall into that trap.
Sure.
And it's so easy to fall into the trap of, becoming dogmatic, ideological about these things. We have to open our minds to all the possibilities. And one of the clarifying moments for me was when he talked about, the food pyramid.
Yeah.
And what this country has, what ills the country has suffered from due to the use of this pyramid by these scientists. And so I absolutely align with him. I know that you didn't want me to roll out this whole speech, but I'm absolutely aligned with him in saying we have to look at everything and we have to be honest. We have to just be honest. And there are no shibboleths. There can't be any, idols here. There can't be any golden idols that we have to worship. And there are golden idols that these opposition people are worshiping. You're not allowed to mention some of these things. And any mention of these things, bring immediate, it's unscientific, blah, blah, blah. Well, unscientific is what this previous CDC practiced. I mean, they practiced a set of shibboleths.
So that brings up kind of a version of that, Larry, which I think you'd be interested in pursuing, probably have thought about it as well. All we've heard about for the last decade is the science, the science, the science, the science. If you're not a meteorologist, you're not allowed to talk about the weather. If you're not a doctor, you're not allowed to talk about the science of medicine. It seems to me, Larry,
no, it's much worse than that. If you're not a meteorologist that subscribes to a particular view of global warming, or if you're not a doctor that subscribes to a particular view of the source of, COVID-19 or autism, or if you do not align with the current truth,
right,
as propagated,
right,
by the CDC or by whatever authority,
right,
then you are by definition cast out. Now, Canada is far worse, by the way, much worse. But we are at a situation where science has been so corrupt. A huge proportion of scientific papers are just flat out fraudulent.
Yes.
Flat out fraudulent.
Yes. The peer review system is out of control.
It is and I will tell you, China has it right. They don't have shibboleths. They're allowed to, come up with the conclusions they come up with, which is kind of weird because they are a dictatorship.
Right.
We're not a dictatorship, and yet our scientists are required by absolute rule of the majority of these crazy people to come up with these, nonsensical stuff. Look, I'm in the middle of a whole study of Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, for the first 20 years of study, was completely crippled by pursuing something that was an outcome of Alzheimer's, not a cause of Alzheimer's. It was treated as a cause. And one of the most important papers, one of the foundational papers of that concept, of that theory, was propounded by the guy who became the principal of Stanford University, the most prestigious university on the West Coast. Of course, he was found to be criminally wrong, or criminally liable for fraud in the critical papers that led to that pursuit. But that pursuit cost millions of people a terrible ending to their lives, which could have been saved probably by the research that has since come after it. And we're not there yet, but my goodness.
Yeah, Larry, I just so that
I got carried away there. Sorry.
No, so that I don't forget to mention it. I just my mother's got Alzheimer's. My dearly beloved past mother-in-law had Alzheimer's. I'm well aware, been right around it. But I noticed the headline yesterday. You might want to follow up on it if you haven't seen it already, that lithium apparently could be a significant way to.
It is true. I've seen the papers. I read the papers. It's a very promising potential. It's potentially a promising treatment, and I would strongly urge everybody to read that paper. It's very well written. It's very easy to understand. There's a piece in the paper for the layperson to read and to understand. It's not proven beyond all reasonable doubt. Beyond doubt, it certainly seems to work, in the lab, if you like, or in the animal, if you like. But there is great promise in I should say in vitro. There's great promise in it, and I would just recommend everybody to pursue that particular discipline. It's not the lithium we use in some of these serious mental diseases, but it is a form of lithium, and it's a particular form of lithium that's freely and inexpensively available.
Yeah. All right. Well, Larry, I know we got way off into a subject matter that we don't normally cover, but guess what? the people that listen to my show typically are between 55 and 75. They're men. They're dealing with all of these things right now. Their children or grandchildren are dealing with these childhood issues. So I think it's not bad that we spend a minute on it, and because I think one of the things for me, Larry, is again the fact that you have a PhD behind your name or you have an MD behind your name is not necessarily what it's all about. I know this guy who has no letters behind his name at all, and he wrote the book on decision trees, which is a fairly highfalutin thing to be writing a book about and charging people. I think it's $50 a book or maybe more. So
quite a bit more.
quite a bit more. Okay, there you go. That was the most I've ever been able to charge for one of my books, Larry. So I guess that's why I thought that was the limit. Okay.
So, no, I mean, I guess we could have sold more books if we'd reduced the price, but that's how our publisher wanted to do it.
But I have no business degrees. I have other degrees, but I don't have a business degree. I've written 10 books on business, one of which was a major publisher. So it's not all about the letters on at the end of the name. Part of it has to be, does this make sense? And is it worth looking at, keeping an open mind, which is supposed to be the principle, the beginning place of science?
Yeah, I mean, I think the scientific method makes a lot of sense in many cases. But the interesting thing is some of the greatest discoveries of our time,
yes,
and even some of the greatest discoveries of humankind were achieved not by people with letters behind their name.
Yeah, 100% true. Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't know, something about rocketry. I don't know that Elon had any letters behind his name.
Oh, Elon's got great letters behind his name. He has a business degree and a Master of Science, Bachelor of Science. Bachelor of Science.
Yeah, but he doesn't have like a PhD in rocketry.
Oh, he does.
Well,
he does.
He does, yes. So today, Larry, Tesla was up 3.44% to $350.84, and it's slightly down, just a tad down in the after hours. Was that enough to listen to Gary Black? I would have thought that when this pay package was proposed, the stock would have gone to 450 or more. I don't know.
Gary blocked me. So when I stopped, when I stopped subscribing to him,
I see.
He gave up the facade and he just blocked me because I could criticize him as much as I liked, as long as I paid him the X dollars a month or whatever it was. But when I stopped subscribing to him because it just became too much, he blocked me immediately. So I can say what I like about him now. Oh, dear.
Okay, so tomorrow you and I will be spending a huge amount of time going over the Cathie Wood analysis tonight. But I did want to predate that or preface it because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this tomorrow. We may have to hit it again, depending on how she deals with it. But the jobs numbers came out today, and the market kind of yawned. The bond market said, okay, now we get it, and had a good rally day, up almost 10 basis points.
But mortgage rates really started to sink.
And mortgage rates are also starting to sink, yes. But the market itself went, it seems that 22,000, that seems okay. So yeah. I did some analysis, a quick analysis. I don't know if you're aware of it. Next Tuesday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will be coming out with their revision of the revision of the revision of the revision.
Right.
April 2024 to March of 2025. And three different agencies, three different groups who analyze this kind of stuff, like Goldman and others, think it's going to be on the order of 800,000 jobs.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, taken off the top. Okay. So it was
wow.
So that period of time, we only saw an increase of 1.74 million, and 800,000 of those, maybe more, could be more, are going to be coming right off of that. So half are going to go away.
That's a huge number.
I know. So what we're going to be talking about, Larry, last year is an average of 82,000 a month. Now, so far since April, May, June, July, August of this year, we're at about 50,000 a month. That's after the adjustments that we've seen so far. And of course, these can be adjusted up later.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe.
Well, we don't know. We've seen adjustments up as well as down over the years. So the point I'm trying to make is this is exactly, Larry, I hate to take a huge bow here, but this is pretty much exactly what I started talking about 3 months ago. Is you can't have the federal government have zero jobs, zero new jobs, and take away 95,000 jobs. You can't have the immigrants marching out of the country, and you can't have the biggest revolution in productivity ever in the history of man and still think you're going to be hitting 120, 130,000 jobs a month. It's going to be under 50,000. And I'm not the only one saying it. People like Ferguson on the Fed and others have said, expect it to be 20,000, 40,000, 60,000. That's going to be the new number.
Yeah, this just fortifies everything we've said over the last year or two. This Fed is out of tune, out of touch. This Fed governor has been a disaster, and all these DEI hires during the Biden years have been an absolute catastrophe. The president needs power over the Federal Reserve. He has to hire and fire the governors of the Reserve Bank, and they should not be put in for 16 years. They should be put in for absolute limit terms of 5 to 7 years. I mean, maybe 7 years, but 16 years is ridiculous. And this whole business of DEI hires. I wonder how many of these hires were done with the auto pen.
Yeah, right. Yes, well, Mrs. Cook, I think, is cooked, but it may take a while to actually get her out of the frying pan. She apparently, the DEI aspects of her hire go way beyond the fact that she's a fraud. They go back to the papers that she's written were not.
Yeah, I wrote about that. I actually posted about that. She is as guilty of, professional misconduct as 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐺 was.
Right.
But the interesting thing is 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐺 was made to resign from her presidency, but she's still a tenured professor at that university.
200 something or 3, 4. No, it's more than that. It's a lot of money per year. It's a big paycheck.
Yeah, it's a big paycheck. And, it's insufferable. It's insufferable because you get people who really are skilled, capable, and, outstanding, and they can't get the job.
Right.
And they would do a hell of a job, and they would, push back against this particular chairman. So
the two things, Larry, I think you and I have already talked about this, but I just have to say it again. The two areas there's 3 major areas of the economy that are still way behind: housing, manufacturing, transportation. Those 3 are all impacted by this Fed rate.
Housing will not recover until the mortgage rate declines.
Right.
We're seeing the beginning of a mortgage rate decline. It could fall precipitously.
Right.
And I'm hoping it does. I would like it to do so before my house goes on the market, if you don't mind, Mr. Federal Chairman. But I'm certain it's going to. I'm pretty comfortable it's going to.
I think we could get into a 5 handle not that long down the road, especially if the 10-year gets into the 3 handle. So, and that looks like it could happen next week. We're at 308, I think, today, Larry. So, but on the other side of the coin, we can't let you off the hook on gold. It went up.
I'll never live this down.
It went up again.
I'll never live this down. Listen, in the early 80s, I lived through gold going to $800 from, I will tell you, $85.
Yeah.
Late 70s.
Yeah.
and I saw it go to $800. And all I can tell you is that everybody was strutting around Johannesburg saying, oh, gold's going to 8,000. You know, there was no limit to their imagination.
Right.
And there it stuck for 45 years.
Right.
So, you know, I may be wrong by 6 months or a year, but I think we're reaching a point that's going to be stuck for a while.
I have said about almost all of my prognostication that I'm usually 6 months early, or I'd really be rich. If I can just get the timing.
Yeah. Well, timing, I mean, investment is all about timing.
It's all about timing. All right, Larry, any last thoughts today as we, tomorrow, I'm not sure exactly what time. I'm hoping that she'll be early so that we can do our show early, and maybe we'll have the show come out around 1 o'clock tomorrow, California time, that is. Is that California? Yeah, about 12 noon or 12 California time. But anyway, any last thoughts though for today's show?
You know, it's a new day for Tesla. It definitely is going to have the analysts starting to factor in. You know, this is what we've been speaking about for the last year. When do the analysts start factoring in robots?
Yeah.
When do they start factoring in robotaxis? They cannot now ignore it.
Right.
So we're going to see a whole new attitude amongst the analysts, which is exactly what we've been preaching all this time. And Gary Black has told us we're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, Gary Black is going to be in the red. We're going to have to call him Gary Red from now on.
Gary Red, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. And that's my thought for today.
All right, Larry. See you tomorrow. Thank you as always for coming on. And to all the rest of you out there, show up tomorrow. You never want to miss when Larry and I talk about Cathie, because she's amazing. And we try our best to add some relevance. And sometimes we succeed, I think, Larry. It's been great talking to you.
Take care.